Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Okay. Oh, thanks, Caroline. All right. So Tom's Park. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today because I got so excited when I first heard about Tom's Park and heard Tom talking about it and explaining what it was like to be there. The feeling where everyone there is going to be someone you can interact with in a friendly and positive way, where the animals can all talk to you, where nothing bad can happen. There are no bugs to bite you or sting you, no allergies from the grass or the flowers, no bad weather, just nothing bad ever happens there. That's the kind of place I imagined a lot when I was a kid. And um, and the way Tom describes getting into the park is the way I used to go out of body when I was a child. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was just, at night when I couldn't sleep, I would imagine things and talk to my non-physical friends, and we would go on adventures together. And I thought that was just a normal thing. And I even thought that maybe the real world here was just like that because I used to jump out of the window of my bedroom. It was on the ground floor, don't worry. I used to jump out the window and just walk around the hills. I grew up in India in this beautiful place called the Nilgiris. It's in a place in South India where they grow all the tea and coffee, and it's beautiful there, and it smells amazing. The air is so clean, and there are just all of these stray dogs that just walk around. They're friendly and they come and hang out in your yard. Um, and I thought that that was also a place that I could just hop out the window and go exploring and meet people and talk to animals, and anybody that I met would be friendly and helpful. And eventually, my mom realized I was doing this, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. And I also was never able to jump out of that window again because she planted really tall corn plants right outside the window, and I couldn't even see out the window anymore, let alone jump out of it. So I've always been looking for a place like that to go to. And so if you've never had experience with Tom's Park and you're wondering what it's like or how it works or what's the point of it, um, I guess the best way I can put it is it's a form of meditation, but you don't have to sit there and be quiet and clear your head. Because if you have a lot of chatter in your head, as I used to when I was very left-brained, then it feels impossible to lie down quietly, close your eyes, and clear your head completely. So that's the reason why I um, use Tom's Park as an alternate to meditation, but I also wanted to explain, if you aren't sure how it works, to get into the park. I want to explain why imagination works, why that's the way to get into the park successfully. So if you think of us all in MBT terms, we're all points of consciousness, individuated units of consciousness having an experience here, in this virtual reality that is designed to allow us to make choices, allow us to interact with other people and make choices that can evolve us towards a more loving state of being, or evolve us um, towards a less loving or more fearful state of being. And what we want to do, the whole point of our existence is to become more loving. That's the whole point of us being here, is to learn how to become love and lower entropy in the system. Entropy is a measurement of chaos and disorder, and that can be measured within ourselves. And because we are consciousness, it affects consciousness in general, the larger consciousness system, or LCS. So if we're consciousness and we need to make choices, then we have to have some kind of information that's showing us the choices that we have. And we call that a data stream. And the LCS is creating this data stream for us, what we perceive as our reality, the human experience. That is information that is sent to us from the LCS directly. And because we are consciousness, we can also create a data stream. The difference is the LCS can share the data stream with all of us because we are part of it. And when we create a data stream or a virtual reality of our own, it's just for us within our own experience. But regardless of whether you're creating the data stream using your imagination to create a data stream or a virtual reality in your own experience, or it's an independent data stream that's being sent to you from the LCS, either way, the choices that you make matter. The choices that you make will either evolve you towards a more loving state of being or evolve you towards a more fearful state of being. I have a couple of posters that I can share with you. I'll put that in the chat later when I take a little break. But I'm going to share a couple of posters with you that show the themes of consciousness, the different levels of consciousness when we talk about your quality of consciousness at the being level. And that might be helpful. That's based on Dr. David R. Hawkins' work, the Map of Consciousness. And I found that to be incredibly helpful to understand, where you've been and where you are and where you want to be. So I highly recommend if you haven't been introduced to his work yet, please check out the Map of Consciousness. The Map of Consciousness Explained actually has a primer on all of his different works. So I think that one would be a great starting point if you haven't checked him out yet. So that was helpful, just understanding what the levels of consciousness are and where we're trying to go. So when we go to a place like Tom's Park or any other virtual reality, we want to make choices that will evolve us towards the higher levels of consciousness, and those are love, joy, peace, and the way we start with Tom's Park is by using our imagination to create a data stream. And we don't want our intellects to get involved, our left brain intellects to get involved, because that's what pulls us out of the experience. If you have trouble recognizing your intellect from your intuition, um, I understand it's really tough to distinguish what's me asking the questions and what's me observing from my intuitive side. And Tom suggests um, imagining your intellect as a cat, and the intellectual cat, and you just pet the cat and you say, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I know you're very curious, but I need you to stay here and relax and wait for me, and I'm gonna go exploring and I'll come back. So I love that idea. I love cats. So I love that idea even more. But I didn't know about Tom's intellectual cat when I named my intellect. And what I did was I picture my intellect as an AI assistant. She's very eager to come in with all of her facts that she's collected over the years. But I tell her, I don't need you right now. I'm doing something. And I imagine her as kind of like C-3PO from Star Wars, Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, and a tiny bit of Dorothy from the Golden Girls. So she has a certain personality. And whenever I feel her getting, she goes, ah. And I'm like, no, no, I don't need you right now. I'm doing something else. So that might help you if you kind of give your intellect a name and a personality. Mine's called Beatrice. You give her or give them a name or a personality and kind of and make sure you thank your intellect for all of its hard work because you wouldn't get very far without it. That's how we draw boundaries in this VR here, the human experience. And that's how we know how far we've come. It keeps track of where we've been and how much progress we've made. So that's really important too. But okay, so that's all the stuff about um, the boring stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff about Tom's Park. So, Tom's Park, if you've never read the book and you're not sure what it's about, Tom invented it as a tool to help develop your intuition. And it's a very clever trick, the way you use your imagination to fill up your senses, just kind of max out your intellectual bandwidth with all of the sensory data you're imagining and get your emotions involved as well. And you imagine this place, which is described in the book, Tom's Park, and you imagine that you're there with all of your senses. And when you do that to the point where you can smell what the flowers smell like, what the air smells like there, you can see and feel the breeze rustling through the leaves, or you can feel the grass or the water of the lake. And you can pet the animals and feel the fur under your fingers or smell the barn where the horses are. When your senses are so filled up with that you are not processing any more data from this virtual reality, you disconnect from this virtual reality and you are in your own data stream. You're in your own Tom's Park data stream. And because you're the one starting that data stream, it's unique to you and you can change it and create it to be exactly what you'd like it to be. And when you're doing that, when you're fully committed to that and you're putting all of your awareness and intent into that feeling, the LCS reaches out and fills in some of the details, and it's kind of like a handshake between the two of you. You're creating a story together. It's a role-playing game that the two of you are in together. So in the beginning, Tom says you kind of slip back and forth. Sometimes it's your imagination, sometimes it's the LCS's independent data stream, and you go back and forth between the two and try not to figure out, am I really here in Tom's Park or am I imagining it? Is this an independent data stream I'm receiving, or is this is just me and my data stream? It doesn't actually matter because just because it's your data stream that you're creating with your imagination doesn't make it any less real than one that's being sent to you independently by the LCS. So either way, whether you're imagining it or whether it's the LCS's independent signal to you, it's something that's giving you the opportunity to make choices. If you're having an interaction with somebody in the park or an animal in the park, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to use words. You can communicate telepathically if you prefer. Um, and I'll tell you a couple of my experiences in a couple minutes to tell you why I say that. But whatever interactions you have and whatever choices you make there, count towards your evolution, towards love. And And the more you use Tom's Park, the easier it becomes for you to get that independent data stream, the easier it becomes for your intellect to stop and sit down and be quiet and just observe and let things happen without needing to barge in and verify right away, like, is this real? Is this really happening? And um, and that's something that is going to take some commitment on your part and a little bit of um, maybe in the beginning, it's really helpful to do something repetitive, do something the same way every single time. If your intellect is very strong, if you're very left-brained, it's important in the beginning to do a lot of repetitive things, and that way your left brain will start recognizing the pattern. Oh, I know what happens next. I know what happens next, that we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And your left brain gets, it starts making a little shortcut. It wants to be efficient. It doesn't want to um, read the same book a million times, right? It wants to be very efficient. It's like, oh, I've read that. I'm done. So when it sees that you're repeating the same steps over and over again, it starts creating a little task set. And when you start the first step in that task set, it'll start, your left brain will start filling in all of the rest of the steps. Oops, so sorry about that. Filling in all the rest of the steps for you because it knows what's going to come next. It starts getting bored with the repetition. And so that's a good trick to get your left brain to settle down is just to do repetition at first. But then once you do get to the point where you feel a little more comfortable with relaxing into the LCS's data stream without trying to verify right away, then you want to practice iteration rather than repetition. So you want to see where you can kind of push at the boundaries of your last experience so that you're not having the same experience every time or trying to have the same experience every time because you won't grow as much if you do that. So, all right, so let's see. Some of Tom's tips are using your imagination, using all of your senses, including your emotions, and starting out with the more active things in Tom's Park. So there are lots of activities to do, like jet skis on the lake. You can go swimming in the lake, and the water is perfectly clear and safe, and you would never be able to drown in the lake. And you can breathe underwater if you like. You can do whatever you want. And there are all these fish and beautiful underwater plants to look at, and if you can imagine the feel of the water on your skin, and the giant squid swimming in the background, and the sunken pirate ship with the maybe there's treasure down there, and you can go snorkeling or scuba diving. There are so many things to do in the lake, and then there's the barns where you can get a horse to be your friend and go for a ride. I did that a couple of weeks ago, and I met a horse named Misty, and she was super sweet. And we went up for a ride in the mountains. And you can you can walk through all of these orchards and flower gardens, and there's the small animal wildlife refuge where you can play with all of these sweet, friendly animals that can talk to you. And you can go for a paddle boat ride on the lake and go to the Warner Recreation Center. And there are tons of things to do. Um, and Kenneth, you're saying it's going to be a bit overwhelming. Oh, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. The thing is, okay, so here's another thing, all right? Dips, all right? Dips instead of trips. Just do just do like a 2-minute dip into Tom's Park where you go in and just for 2 minutes, sit down at a table under one of the shade trees and just imagine the smells and the sights and the sounds. Close your eyes, see what you can hear, and then come right back. And that's it. Um, and that's something that that you can start with if you're worried about being overwhelmed. But yes, if you have a hard time with I had a hard time with a linear progression of things. Like, okay, I walk up to the entrance and I walk through the gate, and there's Tom's Grill on the left side. And, so if I'm imagining that that's what I've heard in the audiobook and I've seen on the map, then, I'm trying to do that. It doesn't always work for me. But if I start in the middle of something, that works much better. So if I start where I'm already in the lake, I start where I'm already petting an animal, I'm already in the horse barn, and there are five horses in front of me. And Christine's asking if you want to memorize, if you need to memorize the map and then close your eyes. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I would familiarize myself with the map. I think it's better to have a printed copy of the map rather than trying to look at it on your phone or tablet, just because there are so many distractions on your phone and tablet that when you're like, oh, I'm gonna look at the map for 5 minutes, but then suddenly it's half an hour later and you're on TikTok or you're, you know, you're doing something else on your phone. So I think having a printed copy of the map is helpful. And you can order a poster size one from the artist directly. I put a link in the comments if you're interested in that. But that is very helpful if you do look at the map before you decide to try going into Tom's Park, and just pick one or two things. You don't have to do an hour. You don't have to sit there for an hour and close your eyes and say, I'm gonna be there for this whole time. It could be a very short little trip into the park. And it's actually beneficial. That's one of Tom's tips is to go for short trips consistently. See if you go for 5 minutes twice a day every day. It's better to do that than to try doing 1 hour in a row and then getting frustrated and not being able to do that for the hour. And then the next time you say, oh, I wasn't able to do it last time. So I don't really want to try again today because it's frustrating. So just do the 5 minutes and just see how that goes for a couple times a day. Um, Another one of Tom's tips is that you should have fun. You should play, interact with all of the people, but you should remember that this is a tool, and it takes practice to get to know how to use this tool um, for your greatest benefit. It's a very powerful tool. I've only mentioned so far the activities that are for beginners, but once you're used to the park, once you have become accustomed to going in without your intellect um, interrupting and spoiling the fun, there are so many more advanced things that you can do that develop your intuition. You can develop your powers of telepathy, astral projection. You can practice being at point consciousness, just staying at point consciousness, your energy healing skills for yourself or others. And there are multiple places to go in the park where you can heal yourself or others. So it's not just to have fun. It's not just um, to be in a safe place, which and that's actually a huge benefit. It is a very safe place to have what's essentially an out-of-body experience. It's your imagination launching you into an out-of-body experience in a very safe environment where you don't have to worry about anything harming you or hurting you. And and nothing frightening is going to happen. And everybody that you speak to, you can be assured that everyone that you speak to, person or animal in the park, is just the same as speaking to the LCS. You're getting to have a conversation with the LCS. And that's really profound. That can be really healing for a lot of people. And I'll tell you briefly an experience that I had a couple of weeks ago. I was feeling really frustrated. I'm a single mother. I have two teenage sons, and it's a pretty difficult thing to be a single mom of a couple teenagers sometimes. And so I was frustrated one morning after they had left for school, and um, and I was like near tears, like the frustration where I was near tears when I was telling myself, oh, just it's fine, like just let it go. And I was having a really hard time letting it go. And so I was sitting there just for a moment, and I felt my intuition tell me, and I do speak to my non-physical friends now after I've learned to trust them again after decades of pretending that they weren't real. I've learned to let them back in and listen to them. And they mentioned to me, try going to Tom's Park and work this out. And so I just closed my eyes for just a moment, and immediately I was on a cliff overlooking a beautiful green valley in Tom's Park. And the sight of the valley was so beautiful that it made me feel emotional. I was moved by the beauty of it. And the breeze that was blowing was sweet. And I turned to see um, this woman off in the distance in this field of flowers. She was picking herbs and flowers to use in the potions that she sells in the apothecary in the lodge underground. And she came over to me, and she was standing so close to me, I could see the freckles on her cheekbones and the curly hair blowing away from her face in the breeze. And we stood there for a moment, and we didn't say anything to each other. It was a completely telepathic communication between us. And she reached out and held my hand, and just for about 30 seconds. And in that time, I felt like she could understand everything I was feeling, all my frustrations, everything I was feeling. She understood me perfectly without me saying a word. And it was everything I needed in that moment. She understood what it was like to be a mother and to watch your children leave their childhood and start walking into manhood and all of the grief that comes with saying goodbye and the pride that comes with watching them grow. And I came back. It was I was only there for a minute, and I came back here to my reality here, and I just sobbed for 5 minutes because I had felt so seen for those few seconds over there. So that's what I mean by how it can be so profound, and you don't really have to try very hard. You don't have to try. And actually, it's best if you don't try, if you don't push, if you're not really looking for some specific outcome. Don't be attached to a specific outcome, because there's so much more that can come out of it if you are open to all of the possibilities instead of just being um, attached to one specific thing that might come out of it. So be open to anything happening. I wasn't expecting that by any means, but I think about it often. I've thought about it every day since that happened. It was so beautiful to be able to experience that kind of connection with someone. And you're right, Belinda, that was a gift. Such a gift. Um, so yes, some people are asking if it's necessary to read the book. It is absolutely necessary to read the book because Tom has so much insight, and it's not a very thick book, but there's so much that he puts into his instructions and explanations, and it's very valuable to have that knowledge, to have Tom's knowledge of the park that he created with the LCS, specifically to help us learn how to develop our intuition. So besides using your imagination, there are so and so I would definitely recommend that during the day, whenever you have time, if you're, stuck in traffic or whatever it is, practice using your imagination. Practice making a space for yourself. And if you've read about the lily pond in Tom's Park or heard him talk about it, it's a very peaceful place, and it blocks out all of the sound of the rest of the park. And he says there's Karen, LCS stands for Larger Consciousness System, and we are parts, little parts of that larger consciousness system. So the lily pond, when you enter that space, and Tom mentions there's an energy vortex that swirls around that place. When you enter it, you immediately feel peaceful. Immediately. All of the tension drains away from your body. It's a place of deep meditation and healing. And and there's a yellow bench there. That's a teleportation bench. Any of the yellow benches in Tom's Park are teleportation points where you can sit on them, and they will take you, close your eyes, and they will take you to another virtual reality to experience. And you can choose by imagining what kind of virtual reality you'd like to experience, or you can let the LCS choose for you. Um, but there is a place like that, exactly like that, pretty much inside yourself at we'd call a being level address. So there's a place inside you where you can go that everything just shuts off, all the stress of the world shuts off, and you're alone and calm in a place of healing for yourself. And I experienced this place just below my heart, where my heart is in my body. Um, the ancient teachers of India called this the secret chakra or the secret heart or the hrit. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. But they describe it as a place where it's the seat of your soul, and you go there for your soul to be restored. And when they describe it, it sounds exactly the way Tom describes the lily pond in Tom's Park. So you can find that place inside you because it's part of you. It's part of the information that makes you who you are. And you can find that being level address inside you. Um, and the way I do it is I just close my eyes and I imagine that I'm sliding down in like out of my head, sliding down out of my head and down into my chest, into my heart, and just below my heart. And I decorate this place the way I want it to look. And you can decorate the place the way you want it to look. So when I go there to my place, it's a garden. It's a secret garden, and there's a beautiful big tree that I sit under, and there's a river that flows by the tree, and it's just filled with flowers and plants and animals, and it's kind of like a tiny piece of Tom's Park, but it's inside me. And if you went to the one that's inside you, it wouldn't look like the one that's inside me. So you can make it whatever you want it to be. Instead of sliding out of your head and down into your heart, you can slide down a fire pole or walk down some stairs or whatever it is, however you want to take an elevator down. But imagine that you're going down to this place inside you where it's completely peaceful. Nothing else can follow you into this place because it's just for you. And in my experience during my meditations, I will usually get to point consciousness if I stay in this place for long enough and I feel myself at peace and I really do feel my soul restoring there from all of if you've had a hard day, if you've had to deal with some mean or unkind people during your day, or, just you need an escape from the high entropy of the world around you. That's the place I go to, and I feel peaceful immediately, and I feel myself restoring back to my being level self. And when I'm there, I do feel like I could go to point consciousness immediately if I'd like to do that. So that place is where I would say, if you can find that place inside yourself, that's your place to get to point consciousness from there. So I would, as an imagination exercise, I would try making your little space inside you at your own being level address of this point inside you where your soul attaches to your avatar, we'll call it, okay? Where your soul attaches to your avatar, find that place inside you and make a little home there for yourself, a little room. Put a little armchair for your intellectual cat to nap. Um, put the furniture that you'd like, if you'd like it to be an inside place. If you'd like it to be an outside place, make it an outside place, like my garden. If you want a tent, whatever you want. But it's a safe place that only you can go to. So that's part one of the imagination exercise. And then the second part is you want to create a liminal space. And the liminal space is, if you've never heard of that term before, it's something that you use to get from one point to another. It's not a destination, it's something that connects two things. So when you walk downstairs, you're not going to the stairs, you're using the stairs to get from upstairs to downstairs, right? An airport is a liminal space because you're using it as a waypoint to get from one place to another. So I have a bridge in my secret garden. I have a bridge that I walk over, and when I walk over to the other side, I pick the VR that I'm going to walk into. So that could be Tom's Park or any other VR. And when you build your space, you can make it whatever you want. You can put a yellow bench there, like the benches in Tom's Park, and do that. You can make it a little portal, like a little stone portal that you walk through, um, or whatever doorway or connecting point you'd like, stairs, bridges, whatever it is. So some kind of liminal space. And if you work on that every day, that will take you um, so far in your imagination and in building your intuition and in getting your intellect to participate a little bit in its own captivity. You're building a space where your intellect has to stay behind. It doesn't get to cross the liminal space with you. So it has to stay behind in the room that it helped you decorate. All right. So if you think of it that way, create a space, a safe space inside yourself that you can go to anytime to rest, recover, and then travel. And point consciousness, I saw somebody ask a question. What that is when you let go of all of the data from this virtual reality. So when you shut off all of your senses, you can no longer experience or you're no longer receiving or processing the information from this virtual reality, the human experience, and and you kind of exist as just a point of consciousness, and it can feel like you're just floating in a void, like floating in a warm bath. It might feel like you're everywhere, and it's a wonderful feeling. It feels beautiful. It feels free because you're not attached to anything. You just exist, and it feels lovely. And so when you if you have that feeling of getting to point consciousness and you've shut off the data stream from here, that's when you have the opportunity to go beyond point consciousness and connect to other reality frames. And that's what we call going out of body. It's not literally going out of your body at all. It's just experiencing a different reality frame. So, in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a guided tour through Tom's Park. And Caroline, if you're on here, I'll let you tell everyone about that. But I do want you to practice if you're going to join us next week, or even if you're not not next week, in 2 weeks, whether you're going to join us or not, if you practice every day using your imagination, just making that space inside yourself where you can um, try to connect to a safe space inside yourself first before you try to connect to point consciousness, or I'm sorry, to Tom's Park. And and if you try dips instead of trips, so just a couple of minutes here and there, do it 3 or 4 times a day. Why not? Just for 2 minutes. And just go and walk up to the counter at Uncle Tom's Grill and order a drink. Be very specific. You want a lemonade in a tall, thin glass with a purple umbrella in it and a yellow straw, and you want lots of ice. Be really specific and have a conversation with the person that serves you that drink at the window. And then take the drink, go sit down and look at it, examine and look at it and see if it's what you specifically ordered. Look at the ice, the condensation on the glass. Feel that condensation. Taste the drink. Does it taste like lemonade? How sweet is it, or sour? Maybe next time you want to order something different. Um, but just for 2 minutes and then come back. And then at the end, don't ask, was that real? Did it work? Say that was a good start and move on with your day. And then, do it again a couple hours later. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves, but we don't want to be lazy with it either. So consistent practice. And if something's not working and you're feeling frustrated, try something different. And the more active things are definitely going to be um, more to more to if you're a beginner or if you have a really hard time getting your intellect to be quiet, the more active things are the place to start. If you're having a hard time with with figuring out your intellectual side versus your intuitive side, I recommend a book called Whole Brain Living by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. You might have heard of her before. Tom has mentioned her before. She had a stroke when she was 36, and she's a neuroanatomist from Harvard. So she was able to analyze what was happening to her as she was losing function in her left brain. And I became really interested in how the left brain and right brain work and how they complement each other. Um, because I lost function in my left brain for a period of time where I wasn't able to access many of my memories. I had forgotten how to drive a car. I didn't know, I had a hard time walking. I had a hard time with fine motor skills. I couldn't hold a pencil or anything like that. So I actually had to take 6 months off on medical leave from work because of my neurological symptoms. And a year ago, a year ago today, I wouldn't have been able to string together a few words to make a sentence, let alone have a conversation with someone or I'm so sorry, I lost power. Um, I lost electricity at my house. There are very strong winds where I am, and it must have knocked it out. So I'm so sorry about that. Um, I have to join
To
from my
join from my
phone
phone
because my
because my
internet's taking
internet's
a while
taking
to
a
get
while to
back
get
on.
back on.
It's okay. We were all saying lovely things about you.
Oh,
Oh,
thanks.
thanks.
I'll know if you're lying
I'll
because
know if
there's a
you're lying.
recording.
There's a little feedback, Michelle. It may be that your computer is still picking up your microphone.
Is that right? Let me see. All right. Thank
It seems to
you
be, it's
so
okay now.
much. All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So, so sorry about that. And I'm not sure what you heard last, but I guess let's see if anybody has any questions.
Just talking about the book on the whole brain living, and you were sharing your own personal experience, how you have been struggling, even having making sentences, and now here you are completely fluent and just mastering the whole thing. So
Oh,
that's where we
thank you,
left it.
Bernardo.
We're just amazed with your process. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It has been a difficult journey over the past few years, but I feel like I've come a long way. And yes, some of the books that have helped me, I put in the comments. And Tom's work, MBT, was kind of like the final piece of the puzzle for me because I I was always a huge fan of quantum physics. I remember the first time I heard of quantum physics when I was 12 years old, and I became entranced. And to me, that was the magic in the world. That was proof of divinity to me. And yeah, so when I started having paranormal experiences and having very profound out of body experiences where I felt, well, to be frank, I thought I was going crazy. But yeah, but Tom's work helped me to put things into perspective. MBT was what I was looking for. I needed physics to explain to me why what I was feeling was real, and I'm very glad that I was able to find that and Consciousness Hub and all the lovely people I've met through Tom's work. And yes, it has been a struggle to get back my left brain function. So I appreciate my left brain function. I appreciate my intellect so much. It's not a villain. It helps you. It's everything that you need to survive in this world. It's just something that should be your assistant and not something that should be running your life for you. Because if you can figure out which voice in your head which voice in your head is the real you, and which is your intellect that's tripping you up because it's trying to protect you, because it's trying to help you, but it shouldn't be running the show, right? um so yes, so Whole Brain Living by Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, an excellent book for learning how to separate the different parts of your brain. And it's not just left brain, right brain, it's left thinking and left feeling, right thinking and right feeling. So there are four parts that are very important to understand. And so that's what helped me um, figure out what I was missing, what part of my brain was missing when I began experiencing those neurological symptoms I mentioned. And then there's the work of Dr. Andrew Newberg. He's a neurotheologist, and he's out of Thomas Jefferson University, and he's done a lot of studies on monks and nuns who have spent their entire lives on meditation and prayer, deep meditation and prayer, and have had really profound experiences, enlightenment experiences. And he has found that these experiences, whether they're small enlightenment experiences, and that means you just realize truths about yourself, about your patterns of behavior, and about the world around you. If you have many of those moments in your life, which you will have if you visit Tom's Park a lot, or if you meditate in general, if you have many of those experiences, it changes the structure of your brain. The physical structure of your brain is altered based on your experiences in the intuitive space. And here's what he found: your amygdala, which is your fear processing center in your brain, that actually becomes less reactive. The gray matter in the amygdala was found to have shrunk in people after they had experienced many enlightenment experiences, whether small or big E enlightenment, where you feel like you're one with consciousness itself. And it permanently alters the way you react to fear. You're less reactive to fearful situations because you no longer perceive the universe around you as a hostile place. You're more loving because you have less fear. You're able to see the world in a new way. Another thing that happened was the prefrontal cortex became stronger. So your ability to focus in your left and right thinking brains, that's your intellect and your intuition, both of those abilities are enhanced and they become stronger after you've had a lot of experience with meditation. And there's one more thing that I'm forgetting. What am I? There was one more thing, and it'll come to me. And I'll put it in I'll put it in the comments on Consciousness Hub if I remember what it is. But your brain changes based on all of the things that you choose to do to evolve your consciousness. It upgrades the hardware in your avatar so that you can have these experiences more easily. You can experience contact and communication with the LCS more easily, more reliably if you continue to do this persistently over time. And you don't give up just because it's frustrating. Just try something different. There are different ways of meditation, and it doesn't have to be the quiet lying down closing your eyes kind of thing. And it can be something where you're moving. Dancing can be a meditation. Meditation is just the process of letting go of the noise in your brain so that if you shut out the noise, you can get the signal from the LCS. So if you're able to do that with dancing, with painting. I get that feeling from knitting. I love knitting. It's the best thing ever for me. And it works both sides of your brain. That's a purposeful thing. Knitting is a purposeful thing that I do to work both sides of my brain because I want them to both be strong because I need my left brain to do I need my Beatrice to do what I need her to do. You know what I mean? So if anybody wants to learn how to knit, please let me know. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you learn. Alley Cat, do you want to learn how to knit?
She wants to know when she's going to see you next.
Oh, fly over, baby.
She'll come stay with you.
Come stay with me. Um, but yeah, so there are plenty of things that you can do to shut the noise down in your mind. You just have to find what works for you, and that's the same thing with Tums Park. Find what works for you to get into the park. Find what works for you to enjoy the park and learn at your pace. The lessons come when you're ready for them. The experiences come when you're ready for them. And if I can tell you anything, I would say just if you can believe that the outcome is assured, if what you're looking for is that enlightenment experience, if I tell you the outcome is assured, don't worry about how long it's going to take. It takes as long as it takes. Just be open to however it comes to you and whenever it comes to you. So I think that's about all I have to say. I hope I haven't left anything out that I really wanted. But you know what? If you guys come back in 2 weeks and I forgot something this time, I will tell you next time. So please let me know. Do you have any questions, anybody?
Yes, a question. I thought last is going to be. I got an email that said in 2 weeks the session is canceled.
Oh, Caroline reposted it. It is back on. So yes, it's the same time, the 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That is still going to be held on the 21st
Are
in
we going to get a
Stockholm.
new link for it, or?
Yes, Caroline, are you on this call? Are you she did repost it, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, if you
yes.
posted, you just check our event calendar. And, yeah.
Yes, it's on the events. You'd have to go and you'd have to re-sign up for it, I believe, to get the link back.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody else have questions?
Well, many questions, but I don't know if there's enough time. Working through the different levels of consciousness, of course, and entering into Thomas Park and working through these representations that appear in this imaginal world seem to be very closely related to what is done in guided imagery and self-hypnosis and things like that. So it seems like it's an intermediate step between entering into the space that is more imaginal and symbolic to transcending to the point consciousness where you can let go of all those representations and imagery. I'm gathering so that the Thomas Spark is kind of
Absolutely.
helps you work through those things, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And it really is all about letting go. It's just, it's you have the intent, you have the intent and you have what you want it in your heart, right? Like it's something that you feel with your heart. It's not something that you're that you want with your intellect. It has to be something that you want on the being level. It has to be something that you experience and understand on the being level, or it's not going to stick. The nothing is learned in Tom's Park with your intellect. It has to be learned on the being level. So letting go is the biggest thing, and just being easy with it. Just going with the flow.
And I guess
Hard
that
for
kind of
hard for people with a left brain.
yeah, that seems to relate to some of the comments that were made earlier, that some people enter into that space and they seem to be getting there, but as soon as they start up here, it kind of disappears.
Mhm.
And it seems to
Yeah.
me that that may be part of that longing or wanting something to happen, even on a subconscious
Yeah.
level, that leads to that grasping, and with the grasping, just disappears.
Yes. Yes, there's the wanting, the excitement that your intellect feels like, oh, I'm doing it. And that's a good point to mention. Your intellect is the one that's going to try to take credit for stuff. I'm doing it, right? Like I'm doing it. I'm so good. I'm this, I'm that. Um, that's how you can kind of see where your intellect's getting in the way there. Like, oh, how am I going to tell other people about this? What can I, like, how can I remember this so that I can tell people? Those kinds of things are what will trip you up and it will pull you out of the experience. So if you can just observe and there is a tiny bit sometimes there's like when not so much with Tom's Park, but I think just if you're trying to meditate and go out of body, there's that tiny bit of fear that we mentioned earlier. And if you can recognize that that's just part of the process, part of your ego trying to hang on, and just slip over it, just let it go, right? Rajesh, you had a question or something to say?
Yeah, I have two questions actually. Is listening to binaural beats while doing exploration of Tom's Spark, help more? That's my first question. And the second question is for the second part of this session, for the guided tour. So, do we need to come with like after we read the book,
It
Tom's
helps. It
Spark?
helps if you've read the book or at least take a look at the map and see all of the different points on the map. It does help to read the book first, but if you'd like to try out the meditation in the 2 week, the guided tour in the 2 weeks, and see if it's something that you want to explore further before you decide to buy the book, then yeah, it would definitely be a good experience for you either way. Whether you but it is helpful for context. It's helpful to have read the book already and to be familiar with it.
Yeah, that I think, yeah. And coming back to my first question, is listening to binaural beats while doing this exploration?
Yeah, it can be helpful. I don't personally use them because I find them a little bit harsh. So I don't personally use binaural beats, but I know plenty of people who have used them and like them. And if it works for you, then great. And if and then so use them, you know. But if it doesn't work for you, if they're a distraction, I find them to be a distraction for me. But it's whatever helps you. So if you are able to use binaural beats and you feel like they help you to get into that state of mind or to relax you, what you're trying to look for are you're trying to get your brain waves to relax from beta to alpha. Alpha is the perfect sweet spot for out of body experience, like get into that mind frame. So anything that's going to calm your brainwaves down out of beta into alpha will be beneficial. So if you like the binaural beats, try them out and see. I believe there are free ones available on the Consciousness Hub site, and try them out and see if it works for you. And do some visualization exercises with the beats and see if that helps you. And then decide from there. It's whatever you find to be helpful for you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
My
If any
pleasure.
of you, if any of you have Apple Music or Amazon Music or Spotify, you can find the Hemi Sync, which are the ones that were produced by the Monroe Institute, which are a little bit more musical. They're a little bit less electronic, a little less harsh, and that can be also helpful.
Yes. Thank you, Bernardo. Colin, hi.
Hey Michelle, how's things?
Hey.
I'm glad to hear one of the things you said actually resonates a lot with me. The fact that you were not able to function for a period of time. I started meditating because of Tom last year, so a year ago, and since then my left part of the brain has almost completely stopped functioning. I forgot the things that I was able to do like work-wise,
Yeah, you
and it's
do.
been very sketchy. I'm happy that, I mean, I'm not happy that it's happening, but I'm happy that there's someone else that has experienced this. I'm wondering what was kind of the curve like since it started happening. You took a break, then did your functioning get slowly back? Did you slow down your meditation practice? How did you balance this?
Um, I didn't slow down my meditation practice because I couldn't slow down my meditation practice. It was I was in a state of meditation all the time. I couldn't come out of it. And really, what I needed to do was to try to get my left brain function back. I did. Um, I gave myself activities to do every day because I had to take time off from work. I forgot everything about my job as well, Colin, and I have to remember a lot of rules and formulas, and it's a pretty left brain job. So it was something that I couldn't do. And I know that you also have a very left brain techie job, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, which I completely forgot how to do. I had to quit my previous job. I'm
Yeah.
still doing the same type of work, but it came to a point where I just had to quit because I really didn't know how to do things that I've been doing for years.
Right. Yeah. I actually asked for a different role. I no longer do that. I work for the same company, but I work in a different role now, so I don't have to have as much of my intellect online. But yeah, I gave myself activities to do every day because I had no concept of time. And so I made myself sit down and paint every day. I made myself do things, physical things in this world, and remind myself that I was here, that I was in my body, that, you know, like my name is Michelle. This is my house. This is, you know, this is my cat. And, you know, whatever it was that connected me with the physical reality around me, because I was having a lot of trouble with that. But really, I think what helped me was connecting with people who didn't think I was crazy. You know, I think that's really the thing. Finding MBT, reading Tom's work made me very emotional, especially the first part of his book when he was talking about his childhood experiences, because I had been thinking that I was, I was nuts for such a long time, and trying to, I guess, forget those kinds of that part of me, the intuitive side of me. And so meeting people through MBT, talking to people that wanted to understand my experience instead of making me feel like, oh, there's something wrong with you and this is terrifying, because I was already feeling that inside myself. It was really helpful to speak to people who weren't afraid of talking about any of this, and who weren't afraid of sharing their experiences. I became friends with a group of people on MBT, who had met through MBT, and they helped me a great deal. And so really, I think being able to share the experience with somebody else, and above all things, understanding that it was my real experience and that I wasn't going crazy. That was probably the biggest help for me to put things back together, and make things a little easier for myself and I'm not all the way back. I still have a hard time in crowds. I still have a hard time with loud noises. And I was in an arcade recently, and it was a terrible experience. Even the carpet was loud. It was really an uncomfortable experience that I had to go and lie down afterwards. And that's something that I have to work on. And maybe it'll take time for that to be less painful. But for now, I'm very grateful to be able to have a conversation with people, to be able to knit, to be able to drive my kids to school, to be able to make food for them, because I understand what food is now. Because it was so difficult to even relate to the concept of needing to eat. So yeah, that's exactly my experience.
I think it's really interesting. Oh, sorry, Colin.
No, sorry.
I think it's really interesting to have to sort of navigate between these two worlds, because in this world, we do not value intuition for the most part. So when people start having these experiences, they're usually deemed, crazy. And so it's so fascinating that multiple people are having those awakenings, and as you share your story, you realize there are more people having these types of awakenings where they're seeing the reality as not just what we've determined is the boundary, that there's more to this life experience. And I think that's really exciting. I'm very left-brained. I'm a teacher, and I'm constantly reading and thinking about organization and things like that. So it's really difficult for me, but I really want this experience. And so I think, that's what I'm hoping to get out of this, is how to quiet down the intellectual understanding of it and just accept the experience of it. I also don't have any time alone. I feel like going to the park, you need time alone, because if there's any stimulus around you, wouldn't that sort of take you out of the experience? So I guess, what is the best time to do this? Because that's what I feel like is my first challenge, is just having space and time to do this.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people feel that way, because our lives can get so busy. The best time is like 2 or 3 in the morning, waking up really early. And I know it's not nice. You don't like to do that, but but sometimes, well, I would say that if you start meditating, I think it kind of becomes a natural thing to want to wake up in the middle of the night. I feel like that's something that just kind of starts happening, where you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you don't know why you're awake. And maybe you feel, a little extra energy in your body at that time. And so if you either wake up purposefully at, early in the morning, or earlier than you would normally wake up, and go to the bathroom, go back and lie down in bed and or a separate room if you want to be completely alone, and start your day before the rest of the house gets busy. And I know that's difficult, when you have a whole day ahead of you and you have a lot of things going on in your life. And if not that, I mean, if maybe there are times that you can find in the evening, but 5 minutes, just start with 5 minutes. It's okay. It's not, you don't have to commit to a whole hour right away in the beginning. I mean, I have time because I have no social life. I don't go anywhere. I don't hang out with people. I have no social life, you guys, because I have already mentioned why I have a hard time. I have a hard time being around um, lots of noise and people still. So I have plenty of time because of that, and my kids are grown to the point where they don't want me around all the time. So that gives me a little time to myself as well. But yeah, the middle of the night is great. Or I like lunch break meditations. I think it's a great way of resetting yourself to have a great afternoon. I also like right after I get done with work, just doing like a 20 minutes right after I get done with work. And then I feel fresh enough to go and make dinner and do whatever else I need to do. But yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It could just be 5 minutes in your car when you're stuck in traffic. So
It was very relatable, and I haven't heard anyone mention this, like the physical aspect and the toll that these states take
yeah.
on you and on your physical life.
Yes, it does.
And also the small portions of the Thomas Park. This I've also never heard it before, because I experienced exactly the same thing, that I'll never find a time to sit for 1 hour because I thought you need to do it in 1 hour chunks already.
Yeah. Dips. Dips instead of trips. Yeah. I mean, if you just need sometimes you just need a little pick me up, right? And Tom's Park is perfect for that. I feel so good when I'm there. I feel so happy, and everything is just mwah. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I look forward to talking to all of you again. I'm sure we will cross paths again, right? And yeah, thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.